Hello, everybody, and welcome to the pilot episode of Multimedia Melee, a show where we fight about things, mostly media, because our friends tell us that it's amusing when we argue with each other about inane things that nobody cares about, so we figured, oh, might as well try and monetize it. Let's record it and put it out there to the rest of the world. You had an alternative name for this podcast, though, that you just suggested a few seconds to me ago. Fan Noise Incorporated.
Well, I just thought Fan Noise would be a good name for the podcast, considering that's basically what this is. It's just two fans of movies making noise.
Yeah, and also
nothing will get solved in this
bloody
podcast.
laptop fan. It can very clearly be heard in the background.
Which I think you're just gaslighting me with, to be honest. I think you're trying to psych me out early.
I don't know. Maybe you're gaslighting me. Maybe you're maybe you're
a giant fan.
You know this fan. You know the fan noise is there, and you're.
I don't know what you're talking about, Owen. I'm just turning it up louder, putting it closer to the mic.
Yeah, next you're going to be appearing But before I proceed, I just want to warn everybody that if I show up in the news like tomorrow, like in an insane asylum, blame this guy.
This anonymous man on the podcast.
Yes, I am CJ, and my associate is Ronnie, and we are here today to talk about The Mitchells vs. the Machines 2021, although that's kind of misleading because this film only just came out now on Netflix. It was released at the time of recording yesterday, but it was originally scheduled to be released, I think, early 2020, but it got delayed for... At first, it was going to be delayed until, I think, Christmas of 2020 for some other reason. But, of course, the reason it stayed delayed is, of course, because of... well, in the movie, there's a robot apocalypse, and in the real world, a very different kind of apocalypse was going on at the same time. It's fun that in the movie, everyone is confined to a small space and just made to watch the internet all day, and that's kind of what the real world was dealing with at the same time.
Was this movie meant to have a cinema release, or was it always just going to be on Netflix?
No, it was originally meant to have a cinema release, I think summer of 2020, but it was pushed first to the end of the year, and then when it became obvious the pandemic was not going away anytime soon, Netflix paid Sony money for it so they could release it on their streaming service. And so I think it's getting a cinema release in China, but it's not getting a cinema release anywhere else. It's just going directly to streaming, and I'm kind of disappointed because I guess spoilers for the podcast, I really like this film, but it's, at least in Ireland where we're recording, it's only number 2, not number 1 on Netflix as of this morning.
Yeah, I suppose my opinion of the movie would be I think it's okay, but I definitely think I'm not its audience. I'm not its intended. It's not intended.
Yeah,
oh my God, I can't get away with it.
Yeah, I think I definitely am the intended audience. So I think if you know the people behind it, what's the guy's name? I had it. Okay, I did not prepare for this.
Mr. Gravity Falls.
Yes. Mike Rianda. It's his debut feature, as he wrote and directed it. Co-wrote it with somebody else, Jeff Rowe, and he worked on Gravity Falls, which I'm a huge fan of, and I've been trying to get you to watch for literally years now, to no avail whatsoever. But if you like Gravity Falls, it's a very similar kind of sense of humor. It's like, if Gravity Falls is aimed more at kids, I think this is aimed slightly more at teenagers, I guess. The sense of humor is more teen-centric than child-centric, I guess. But, to give it... Sorry, what was that?
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, it's to give a quick rundown, our protagonist is Katie Mitchell. She's an aspiring filmmaker from Michigan who is about to head off to film school, but has some unresolved issues with her dad. Katie is very internet-centric. She loves new media. She loves making movies. She loves technology. And her dad is this kind of stereotypical Midwestern outdoorsman. Like, he loves hunting, he loves setting traps, nature hikes, like he DIY, like he carries a screwdriver with him everywhere. So it's that kind of they can't understand each other, opposites kind of, will they reconcile kind of plot, one of those.
Now these two people who have got nothing in common are gonna need to pull it together to save the world.
As you do.
As you do.
But yeah, what I like about their relationship in this, though, is it's not that kind of stereotypical, I hate you, Dad, like, you don't understand me, because they do, throughout the course of the film, try to understand each other. They're just not very good at it, which I think is a better dynamic than forcing conflict, because the conflict is there anyway, and they don't try to make it worse with these inane, I hate you, Dad, like, oh, why can't you try to understand me, daughter, kind of thing.
I guess I agree with that up to a point. Like, my problem there would be, like, I guess I felt like the family never didn't like each other. Like, there was never a point in the movie where I was like, oh man, their relationship's irreparable. Like, I never felt like they weren't going to pull it together. So the points where, like, the movie was telling me, like, this is a low point, I wasn't, like, feeling as hard, because I was like, oh no, they've got a pretty strong relationship. They can get through this. Like,
you see, for me, that was actually a good thing rather than a bad thing. I think we're just so used to this dynamic in films where the conflict between, like, the two people who have nothing in common is so forced and so artificial that when you have a family that's just a normal family, they throughout the course of the film, they don't actually change that much. I mean, the whole film is about them changing, but they don't change in the stereotypical way of becoming entirely different people or relating to each other in entirely different ways. It's more just they look at each other in a different way, which I think is a better way to frame this whole problem. But, oh my god, I just realized now we haven't even mentioned the plot of the film. We've mentioned the characters, but
what's the plot of the movie, Owen?
A robot apocalypse. Yeah, we're now 7 minutes in, and we haven't mentioned the fact that the machines of the Mitchells and the Machines. Yeah, so
let's get to the machines.
Yeah, so Katie is about to go off to college, and her and her father, Rick, the outdoorsman, have a big fight. And to repair the relationship, Rick has the bright idea of, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cancel my daughter's plane ticket to California to film school and deliver her to film school via a gigantic cross-country road trip.
And
full of family bonding time. Great idea.
One person she doesn't want to take a ride with is going to be driving her to college.
Exactly. And, well, because of a mixture of happenstance and sheer dumb luck, they end up being the only humans left on planet Earth who haven't been captured by this sentient AI who is hell-bent on imprisoning all humanity and blowing them off into the void of space so she can repopulate the planet with robots instead, because she feels that humans are shit. They pretend to relate to each other, but they really can't. And she's resentful also that her creator, voiced by Eric Andre, Mark Bowman... I
feel like the character should just be called Eric Andre.
Yeah, but it basically is Eric Andre. But his name is Mark Bowman, and he is the CEO and developer of PAL, which is kind of, in this universe, PAL is like Apple, Facebook, Google, all in one. It's like one gigantic tech monopoly, and it is itself a parody of like just about every tech monopoly. And the character is kind of like, yes, it's Eric Andre, but it's also functionally... He's
basically Steve Zuckerberg guy from Twitter.
Basically, yeah. I mean, he's even called Mark. He's basically Mark Zuckerberg crossed with a little bit of Elon Musk. Like, he suddenly... he's abolishing his existing...
I just need to stop you there for 1 second when you said, like, he's like Elon Musk. I feel like if a robot apocalypse happened, Elon Musk would be like, good.
Well, he'll be on Mars by then.
Yeah, he'll be downloading his consciousness into one of those, like, supercomputers and, like, try to become the internet soon.
Yeah, fuck it. He will be the villain. He will be PAL.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, no, if you make this movie and he's in it, like, he is the villain. Like,
the villain, PAL, the sentient AI, is played by Olivia Colman, but yeah, in real life, that would be Elon Musk.
Yeah, definitely.
It would
Anyway,
be like
sorry for
Zuckerberg versus Musk.
it's a Zuck Musk.
Yeah, it's Battle of the Tech Bros. But speaking of which, on a side, I love how they mercilessly mock the family movie cliche of the power of love very early on with
Yeah.
him. Like, give me one reason why I shouldn't capture all of humanity and blast them into space and populate the entire planet with robots, and said, the power of love. And I'm not going to say what happens because we don't want this to be a spoiler review, but something very appropriate happens in response to that power of love line.
So the robot apocalypse happens.
And the family has to work together to and overcome their differences to make it to Silicon Valley and enter a kill code to shut the whole thing down. And that's the basic setup. And you can kind of predict where the whole thing is going to go if you know that basic setup. But I think the way it's done is what makes this film fascinating to me. It's Sony Pictures Animation, and not the same team, but I believe the same segment of the company that made Into the Spider-Verse, one of my all-time favorite films. And stylistically, it has a lot of common in that. It's a lot in common with that. It's very pop art. It's very not in the same way as Spider-Verse. With Spider-Verse, I got more kind of Jet Set Radio graffiti vibes from the aesthetic, whereas with this, it's kind of like an early 90s sketchbook aesthetic, which I like because that's kind of the main character, Katie Mitchell's personality. She, even though she wasn't born in the early 90s, she's kind of like one of those...
the guy who wrote the movie was, so...
she's kind of one of those young people who's decided to build their entire aesthetic based on a nostalgic image of what the early 90s was by way of the internet.
Yeah,
the whole movie looks aesthetically like it was directed by her. Like, there's loads of pop-ups and these sketchbook things peppered throughout the visual language of the film, which can be a bit frenetic at times, but overall I really liked. What did you think of that?
I think you're being very generous to those things. I found them downright annoying at times. Like, I'm not trying to...
I can understand why someone would find them annoying. I think it's maybe a Marmite kind of thing. I liked it.
Those are the moments where I'm like, right, this, I know someone else would find this funny, and I'm not vibing with it right now. Like, I'm not... I can definitely appreciate the humor of this movie a lot of the time, but like sometimes it left me a little cold, especially with the clip art stuff.
Yeah, I think that maybe it could have been dialed back maybe about 20-25%. I do think maybe it's a little bit too frantic for its own good. It can give you what's called gag fatigue sometimes, where it's...
Or a sugar headache.
Yeah, sugar headache, where it reminds me... At its best, it was really lively and funny and kept throwing jokes at me, but at worst, it could feel a bit Mel Brooksy, where it's kind of throw everything at the wall and hope something sticks, that if one joke doesn't land, here's another one like half a second later to make, if you didn't laugh at that one, you'll laugh at this one.
I agree there. I've got nothing else to add to that.
Nothing else whatsoever. Okay.
There's no fight. It's not all fights in the melee. Like,
I know, but like you're so rarely lost for words. It's like you have an opinion about everything.
Episode 1 as well. Can you believe that? Like,
I know. Yeah, this is going to be I knew this was going to be a train wreck, but I had no idea how much.
I like your faith in us, like right off the bat. We derailed right out of the station.
I just like to have that stoic attitude of keep your expectations low. That way, life will always be pleasant, because your low expectations will only occasionally be met.
I just love if you were like making this podcast based on like I Ching predictions, like.
No, just, you see, I wake up every morning and I imagine the heat death of the universe and everything decaying into nothingness. And once you have that in mind, everything else is a pleasant surprise.
This is multimedia melee, by the way, folks.
I wonder, will we stick with that title? Like,
we'll see what the podcast becomes. It's transformed into something else already.
It's transformed into like heat death of the universe, stoic philosophy, and Elon Musk bashing.
Yeah.
Not bad
Like
thing.
most podcasts these days.
Yeah, in fact, on that latter note, I love just how many really overt jabs this film takes at big tech and tech monopolies. Like there's several points, at least two and maybe even 3 points in this film where characters they might as well look directly into the camera and say, "Oh my God, who would have known giving this much power to an unregulated tech monopoly would be a bad thing?" Like it's pretty overt.
Oh yeah, like I think it's definitely captured like or focusing on a lot of sentiments people have had about like Facebook for a few years now. So
Yeah, but aside from the pretty overt theme of the film, there's a theme beside like tech monopolies are bad. The main theme of the film is about family reconnection, and even if you think you've got the world figured out, you can always learn from people who are the exact opposite of you. And what did you think of the family overall? Like,
I you go first.
I I really liked Katie. I really liked Rick. I really liked Aaron. I thought Linda, the mother, could have used a little bit more development. To an extent, she just felt like a kind of stereotypical Instagram mom. Maybe she originally had a bigger role, but her character was streamlined a little in the writing process to make more room for the dad and the daughter, who, to be fair, they're the main characters and their relationship is the heart of the film. But I felt she could have been given maybe a little bit more character than she has. Other than that, I really like them and I really like their dynamic. Their younger brother, Katie's younger brother, Aaron, is obsessed with dinosaurs and was basically me when I was 9. Not with dinosaurs, but with other things. Like, I basically had his personality. You see, now I'm kind of more like Katie, personality-wise, and I especially was when I was her age, which I think around 18. But when I was 9, I was the younger brother. So I was they're basically both me at different stages of my life.
I like the family for the most part. Aaron for me got a bit. It's not that I dislike the character. It's just like this is obviously a 35-year-old man like voicing this like child character. So at a certain point in the movie, I started watching.
Funny.
No, but like at a certain point in the movie, I did just start watching it. Like, oh, the character is actually 35 years old and just pretending he's 9. Like so.
Yeah, but to me, that's kind of like obviously a man is voicing Linda in Bob's Burgers. It was that kind of, it's so obvious that itself is part of the joke. So I accepted that. So I accepted that right away. And I guess for some people that might be distracting. Like, it's obviously an older man voicing a young boy who isn't even bothering to hide his voice that much. But
it's just at that point you might as well have just got H. John Benjamin to do the voice. Like, Katie.
What a good idea.
From Bob's Burgers.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, while I have some issues with the writing of the mother, Linda, I do love Maya Rudolph's performance. Who, she
That's
even when
Maya
she's
Rudolph.
even when she's playing a somewhat underwritten character, she always brings a personality to it that you wouldn't expect.
Oh, that's what SNL alumni are meant to do, right?
Yeah, they elevate material that otherwise doesn't have it. Not that this material is. Needs that much elevation. I think it's. I really enjoy it. Like I think
you're way too hard on SNL. That's what I think. Like,
I honestly
that's an occasionally funny show. Like,
I honestly have never got SNL. At one point, I was like, is it just because it's such a specifically American sense of humor that I don't get this? But then I asked some Americans online, like, what do you think? And they're like, no, it's just bad.
Yeah, I think it has like it runs hot and cold. They had a great period there when Kirsten Wiig was on it.
I don't know, like the specific conversation I was a part of was every generation thinks SNL was better in their day, but it never really was.
See, I remember like when I was like growing up, like Will Ferrell and all on it like were a huge thing, but I never really saw that. And most of the SNL I saw growing up was the Maya Rudolph years, weirdly enough. And I remember that consistently just being always like cited as like, oh, that's a pretty strong season of SNL. And it pretty much went on until like 4 or 5 members of that cast left and like the Bobby Moynihan years began.
We have completely diverged from being a film review, and it's just
at least I'm talking about media, not like heat death of the universe.
That could be... Okay, yeah, you're right. You win.
Well, I think that's the podcast over anyway. That's all I need to hear.
I do think we should at least talk a little bit more about the main thrust of the film being the relationship between the dad and the daughter, because... Okay, part of the reason I wanted to make this the first episode is because, as I told you, I lost my dad recently, and the reason this film was so nice for me personally to watch is it reminded me a lot of my relationship with my own dad, because, okay, not in my teen years, but towards the end of his life, he realized he kind of fucked up and wanted to reconnect with me more, and I was kind of like, please leave me alone, but in his nicer moments, he was very like Rick from this film, where like, I know I messed up, but I do want to understand my child a bit better now.
Well, like in that sense, like you obviously found like a deeper connection with the movie than I ever could.
Yeah. So I'll admit, I'm maybe bringing something to it that everybody else won't have. But even as just a film, I think this was incredibly entertaining. If you're a parent, I think you'll get something out of it. If you're a child, you'll get something out of it. And it's not one of those films where if you are a parent and your kid wants to watch this, you're going to be rolling your eyes and just, when will this ever end, on your phone the whole time. You actually will enjoy this. And I think there's a lot of jokes in here written specifically with adults in mind, like all the satire about tech monopolies. Speaking of which, PAL as a satire of big tech is incredibly well done as for consolidating into one firm and one brand, kind of that whole contemporary tech aesthetic. Like, because they draw a lot from both Apple and Microsoft, and PAL is such a great name for a company like that. Maybe.
I'll be honest, when I first saw it, I was just like, oh, like PayPal are the villains of this movie.
Yeah, but I'll admit, I grew up with a PlayStation as my first games console, and for years I thought PAL was like a company that made computer discs, because on every PlayStation game I got, in the top right-hand corner, it said PAL. I only discovered years later that was PAL versus NTSC. It just means like two different formats for displaying the images. Yeah, but for years I thought PAL was a company. So to see it in an actual film, I was like, oh, what a good name for a company.
When you said that, like, you had like a PlayStation 4 and it was like relating to this PAL thing, I was just
a PlayStation.
No. Like, when you were talking about having a PlayStation, I was just thinking, like, is Owen about to tell me, like, yeah, I had a PlayStation and it was struck by lightning and it became my pal? Like, it had, like, an Olivia Colman voice and...
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you just don't want to run away in the whimsy right now.
No, where did that come from? That's literally insane.
Well, I think it would have made an interesting 5 minutes, like, aside for the podcast, Because a lot of
you're gonna do on this is make these weird asides about like Frankenstein PlayStations and heat death. Oh no, wait, the heat death of the universe is me. Sorry,
that was you, buddy.
Yeah, okay. So maybe we shouldn't even make this a film podcast. Maybe we should just make this a weird asides podcast.
Welcome to the moon, CJ and Ronnie.
Yeah, okay, this has been a disaster. So maybe we should just fast forward and give our scores.
No, we have to go to our expectations of the movie. What were like your expectations going in?
My expectations were, I first saw the trailer for this film, I think over a year ago, when it was going to have a different title. It was going to be called Connected.
Yeah, I heard there was a lot of problems with that, like title change back and forth.
Yeah, the original title was always meant to be The Mitchells versus the Machines. That was the director's preferred title, but the studio wanted to follow a trend and give it a generic one-word title, Connected, like Tangled, Frozen, Minion. Like, they're all like one-word titles, which are like describing like a vague idea of something. But I actually, as far as vague one-word titles go, I think Connected wasn't bad, because it summed up it was like a pun on both, connected, like internet connectivity, and connected as in the connections between family members.
I guess I kind of prefer, if I had to choose one title, Mitchell's versus the
No,
Machines.
I would too. I'm just saying, as far as those vague one-word titles go, connected wasn't bad. But yeah, it actually, if I remember correctly, the trailer from over a year ago, it made it seem more like it was the dad's story than the daughter's story. And when I turned on the film and it was Katie, the daughter, narrating everything, I was like, oh, they really sold this film in the wrong way. It's much more her story than it is his story.
Yeah, when you made me aware of this movie, I had never heard about it at all. Like, I was completely unaware of it, so I checked out the trailer, and I'll be honest, I had a completely different idea of the movie. Like, when I watched it, like, I thought it was like about a family of Jimmy Neutrons, basically. Like,
oh, super geniuses.
Yeah, like I kind of just got that, like, 'cause all the clips are like him going like, all of the Mitchells are weird, and then like you see them shooting lasers, and I just, in my head, I was just like, oh, they're like a family of geniuses that like do all weird, crazy, smart things. And then it's like I watched the movie and it was just, this movie feels like it was completely sold on a lie to me.
If any family is like that, it's oh wait, what I wrote this down. The Posies. They're like the perfect Instagram family, played by John Legend. And
yes, go on.
It was they're like a satire of like these perfect Instagram families who look like they constantly wear white capri pants and prance everywhere and always look perfect. And they're pepper throughout the film, and they're really funny if you know about Instagram stars like that. I kept thinking there was going to be like a liar reveal moment where it turns out they're actually horrible, but no. I guess if anything, the joke is that there is no reveal like that. They really are that perfect.
If I'm being honest, that was actually a huge disappointment for me. I really wanted them to be just the worst people ever in this movie, and it kept waiting for it to happen, and it just never did. And I actually
would that have been too obvious though? Because
would it have been, like, if you do the joke well? I don't think so.
I know, just that I was so expecting it to happen that it was a pleasant surprise when it didn't happen, because when that kind of thing occurs in films, it's just so obvious and so transparent. And the fact
that, but like that feeds into my bigger problem, is that like everyone in this movie is so nice all the time, and it's just like, why you're giving me an argument about how humanity's terrible? Show me some terrible humanity. It's like everyone I meet is like just so pure. Like,
but doesn't that actually reinforce the whole theme of the film, that humanity isn't that bad?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. There's nothing at the start of the movie to kind of tell me that, and then kind of reveal.
Well, there is. I mean, the family is. I mean, the family is bickering a lot, and they can't get on. So I guess that's showing how relationships between people can be strained, which is.
Like I was saying, like that, I never thought that like the family was like in trouble, like relationship wise. Like I never thought like Katie and her dad weren't ever going to talk again, even though they had like a fight. Like I was just like, oh, you broke your laptop, you'll get over that. Like, and it's like, oh, she doesn't like woodwork, you'll get over that. Like,
okay, I did get this feeling though that once she goes off to college, she's probably never going to think about him again. Maybe that was more me than, I'm not sure if everybody would get that, but. I do, however, have one major gripe with the film, and that is the villain, who seems like she is going to have more depth than she turns out to have. It seems like they're setting up for her to be not sympathetic exactly, but to have something of a point and to have a legitimate grievance about the way she's treated, like how she feels abandoned. But in the end, she just ends up being kind of a one-note villain. I would have rather her been a one-note villain from the start than to make it seem like she's going to have depth, but in the end, not have it.
I just think it's funny that Olivia Colman literally only plays queens now.
Pretty much, or evil stepmothers.
Evil stepmothers. I'm guessing dowagers in the future too. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I didn't hate the villain, if I'm being honest. Like, I liked...
No, I didn't hate her either. In fact, I liked her up until the very end, where I expected her to be either redeemed or ideologically proven wrong by the main characters, but she isn't really. She's just kind of defeated, and that's that.
See, that flatness of like her motivation comes back to my point that like she has no real reason to hate humanity other than like she had kind of a dick for an owner, like.
Which is a legit. I mean, if that's her primary relationship in life, I mean, that's an.
If she's connected to the internet, she knows there's other kinds of things out there. So,
I guess.
Anyway,
we've been talking for 30 minutes now, and so I think we should probably get to our scores.
Did we not have any other things to go through? Like
I think that pretty much covers everything.
I guess we got a review in somewhere and all that.
Yeah, about 70% of everything we said was garbage, but maybe that other 30% is salvageable. I don't think I'm going to edit this. I think I'm just going to release this unfiltered to the world as an example of the very worst humanity has to offer, so that when the robots take over, they can use this as a case in point for why we should, in fact, be shot into the black void of space.
Before we stop, I just have one point to make about dinosaurs. Do you think they'll ever be cool again now that they have to have feathers?
Yeah, I mean, like people love birds. Birds are dinosaurs. I mean,
I feel like even though like it's more accurate to have feathers, they're being robbed of some status with like them. They look kind of silly now.
Well, silly is relative. I'm like maybe like
it wouldn't be
things
silly
go in trends. Like lizards could be seen as silly, and birds could be seen as badass in like 20 years, and then dinosaurs will make like a comeback. We'll have Jurassic World, like Feathered Edition. Oh, yeah, do you know what's actually going to happen? Just like they're doing 3D and HD and 4K remasters of like old films and re-releasing them. I'm telling you, this is going to happen. There is going to be a feather cut of the original Jurassic Park, maybe 20 years from now. It's going to be re-released, and all the CGI is going to be redone with feathers.
Least. Oh, and there's going to be a fan edit at the very least.
Yeah, but maybe it's going to be one of those labor of love things. Like there's this one guy who has taken Resident Evil 4 and completely redone all the textures to the point where it looks like a brand new. It's going to be like that. So one fan is going to comb through every frame of the original Jurassic Park and painstakingly add feathers to all the CGI.
The person who does that is also going to like digitally replace Sam Neill with themselves. Like,
probably, yeah. At least they're going to use like a deep fake technology, and you know, everyone is going to be Sam Neill. Like the kids will be Sam Neill. Like Laura Dern will be Sam Neill. Richard Attenborough will.
Just switch everyone's heads around until like the grandchildren are the grandfather and the grandfather is the grandchildren.
It'll probably be Sam Neill himself on his farm in New Zealand. He's going to spend all day. He's going to spend all day combing through his most famous film, just replacing all the scales with feathers and everybody else in the film with himself.
That's what he does with his possession and Event Horizon money.
Yeah, okay. I think we should finally wrap this up and get to our scores. Like the arbitrary numerical value we're going to put on the film. I decided on the rating system we're going to use, and hopefully it will continue going forward, because I think I have devised the most perfect, awesome, mathematically precise and elucidating rating system ever. It is out of 5, but with decimal points, with 1 rather than 0 being the lowest. So really, it's out of 40, like the Michelin magazine. What? What? Oh,
I'm just.
Shit! What?
I'm following along with you. I'm not shit. Like, shit. Like, that's great. I'm being your hype man in this situation.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were like...
You're so paranoid at me, like, just trying to, like, throw a dig at you.
I don't know. I guess I'm a paranoid
person. I'm not doing anything now. I know you're doing something, like...
Yeah. Well, you were trying to gaslight me about the fan.
That's true.
Oh, you admit it!
Still am. No, I'm not.
And he gaslights me about gaslighting.
Do you want to get to your rating?
What was that?
I said, you want to get to your rating?
No.
Dead air.
Okay, let's get to the rating. I can't keep this up forever. All right.
Okay. What a pleasure it's going to be for other people to listen to, like that uncomfortable silence.
Yeah.
Sounds like a frown.
Yeah, the oral equivalent of a frown. Yeah, it's yeah. Okay, so for future reference, I don't think I'm ever going to give any film a perfect 5 points. To me, a film of that rating would have to be literally perfect. It would have to be the most complete and perfect version of itself, which is a standard which I don't think any film I've ever seen has fully lived up to. Even my favorite films, I would not give like a perfect 5.0 to. So that's just going to be me going forward. The way we're going to do it is anything that's 3.0 and above is worth your time. Anything below that is probably not worth your time unless you're like a fan of the genre. So for The Mitchells versus the Machines, I'm going to give a 3.92 out of 5.
Oh man, I didn't know we were getting that specific. I thought it was like 0.5 and that was it, but okay.
Yeah. No. It was like
Any
I said, like out of 5, but with decimal points. Decimal, like out of 10.
any final thoughts on that, like on that rating?
It's not. There's only a few things in this film that prevent it going up to a 4, like a 4 out of 5, and that's the villain. I thought could have used more death. The mother could have used a bit more death, and you maybe could have toned down the frenetic energy of the film. Maybe just a smidge, so that maybe we had a few quieter moments, a few more moments without music, and where it's not constantly going like 100 miles a minute. But other than that, really connected with me in a big way. And but then again, this film was practically made for me. If you get what I'm saying, it has flaws, but I'm exactly the kind of demographic this film had in mind. 30-something animation fans with who spend all day on the internet.
So like that's you. I guess my rating would be about a 3, like just a flat 3. Like it's definitely
3.0. Wow.
3.0. It's definitely worth your time with the kind of thing. I don't think it's my kind of movie. I think Stephen Hawking would have loved this movie because of how like anti-AI it is.
Yeah, although one thing I really want to make clear about this film is it's not anti-technology, which you may be led to believe just by watching the trailers and hearing the premise. It is pro-technology, but it's anti-being obsessed with technology. Like, it does make clear at several points in the film, technology can be a great boon in terms of to humanity, in terms of expanding our creativity, expanding our capacity for communication. We're just using it in a bad way, and we've become dependent on it to the point where we can't do things in the physical world. Like, there's a very amusing sequence where all Wi-Fi is turned off around the world, and the whole world immediately goes crazy, and like people start praying to the Wi-Fi god and making human sacrifices, and which I really appreciated, because that is in fact how I feel when the Wi-Fi is turned off.
This is why I buy DVDs. Do you think
that's dead technology?
Sure it is. Do you think Katie is a little bit like the Juno character from the movie Juno?
Not really, because she's not cynical. She's not.
That's an interesting point.
And she's not condescending. The one thing that really struck me about Juno as a character is she kind of thinks she's above everything, whereas Katie doesn't. She's kind of fascinated by everything.
All right, that's a good defense for that. All right. I guess I like this movie more than I think I'll like HBO's version of The Last of Us.
What does that have to do with anything?
If they're both about the post-apocalypse.
That's a really big... like, one is about, like, fungus-based zombies. The other is like a children's film about robots.
I think you're being a little pedantic with the whole apocalypse criteria here. Yeah.
Well, what about Mad Max? Is it like Mad Max because it also functions?
Yeah,
as an apocalypse.
Yeah. I guess it could be. Yeah. There's a lot of car stunts in it.
Okay, so is this like the Fast and the Furious because it has a car in it?
Well, no, it's not post-apocalyptic, is it? Is the Fast and the Furious set in a post-apocalyptic universe? Like,
It probably will be. That'll be Fast 10.
Yeah.
Like I think in Fast 9 they're going to
We need you
space,
to
and
drive
like
on the surface of the sun.
Han is a cyborg now, and so in Fast 10 it'll be probably it'll, you know what? Not only will it be post-apocalyptic, there'll be a crossover with the Mad Max universe in the next Fast and the Furious movie.
Me familiar going to
Max and
drive
the
into a
Furious.
volcano.
Yeah, bad Australian accent. What were we talking about?
This is our final rating for the movie. We've actually done. We've gone.
How the hell did we get? How the hell did we get to talking about
The
Fast
magic
and
of
Furious and Mad Max?
conversation, CJ.
Yeah,
The magic of
the
conversation.
magic of pure bullshit. Yeah. So okay. So
You're welcome.
So from Ronnie, that is a 3.0. Worth watching, but only if you're a fan. And for me, it is a 3.9. Yes, I am a fan, but I think even if you're not a fan of this kind of film, still tremendously entertaining and strong recommend.
And mine would be a soft recommend, I guess.
Okay, so I guess that's our pilot episode done. I was planning for this to last 20 minutes, but...
Genius cannot be contained, clearly. I think you've got 41 minutes of gold. That's what I think.
I wouldn't say gold, maybe...
Platinum.
Copper.
Zirconia. What?
Isn't that worth more?
I don't know. What's Fool's Gold called again?
I forget. I should know this.
And that's the point we'll end on.
Yes. Okay. So this has been our pilot episode of Multimedia Melee, where we fight about media, among other things, such as the heat death of the universe.
You're really obsessed with that.
Yeah, I don't know what. I
Just
tell you,
your life must be
every
like
day I get up, I think of the heat death of the universe, and that helps me enjoy the rest of the day, because I think that's where we're all heading in the end, unless we do that Michio Kaku thing of escaping to a pocket dimension we've made for ourselves. So so it can't possibly get worse than that.
I love how Owen is basically Kirsten Dunst in Melancholia.
You're supposed to.
I know, edit it later. Just edit it later.
I can't edit
it
later.
Don't upload it. Like, cut this part out.
No, just to spite you, I am not cutting this part.
I am sorry. That was a slip of the tongue.
Yeah, it's probably gonna keep happening.
No, it won't. It won't. That was an accident.
No, it wasn't.
Oh my God! Well, you heard it here, folks. I can't win on the Multimedia Melee.
That's because there can only be one winner, and that will be me.
I suppose that is true. This was your idea.
Yeah, this may last a while, but I will emerge victorious. I will be like standing on a pile of corpses with your head under my shoe, waving a scarlet blood-soaked dagger and pledging to the heavens, I am the one.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Okay, this is...
By the way, just so you know, I'm gonna have to say CJ over and over throughout the next couple, just so I don't say the other name.
You didn't say my last name, at least, so that's probably a good thing.
I'm sure you can edit this anyway.
I'm not going to edit this. As I said, I actually was not joking. I am going to put this up raw, unfiltered, just to spite you.
Okay. Do you think I come out bad in this?
I'm not going to answer that.
I do think whoever started listening has stopped at this point.
I don't know. Maybe we'll make this so successful that whenever anybody comes back to this first episode, they're going to be like, "What were they on? Did they eat edibles before this?"
Be like Rick and Morty. They'll be like, "Get back to classic old good fashioned adventures you guys used to have."
Where they were telling each other to lick their balls.
Exactly. I'll do a Back to the Future parody, and that'll be it.
Yeah. So okay. We have now been talking shit for 3/4 of an hour, so I think it's best we save any potential listeners the suffering of going through with this. And
I think after 45 minutes, that's just cruel to say. Now we're trying to be merciful. Now, the 6 people who listen to this podcast are going to be really upset they had to, because we guilted them into
6. Oh, you're being generous. 3. and we're two of them.
Oh, you think I'm listening to this after we're doing that?
Okay, two listeners, me and some idiot from, I don't know, like Brazil or something,
Some guy
who clicked on it by
some guy you
accident.
just start talking to at a bus station one day. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I used to do
I wonder will I try and beat the algorithm, like just have it keep playing on like every device in my house to create the illusion more people are watching.
Yeah, you're like a one-man fandom. You need to build a wikia for us next, okay?
Yeah, I am my own hype man.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm not going to do it, who
Apparently
else?
I can, because you just think I'm making fun of you. Like,
Well, yes, and also, you know what? You probably can do more than you let on, because you have been gaslighting me about the fan the whole time that you claim is not there, yet I can hear it distinctly.
I think you're Jack Torrancing a bit.
I am. I'm writing the same thing over and over again, and there is, in fact, I live out in the countryside, so there is a hatchet nearby, so we'll see what happens.
That's the best note. We have to leave on that note. Owen has a hatchet.
We shall leave. Yeah.
He doesn't know what he's
Okay.
going to do. Until next time.
Join us next time, where we'll see have I chopped up my entire family. If I chop up my entire family, though, I'm coming for you next, motherfucker.
Yeah, well, that'll be the finale, I guess.
Yeah, that'll be the season finale.
Yeah.
Like,
I like that's the season finale, not the
here.
series finale. So you see yourself doing this after you've killed me, like.
Yeah, we'll move on.
Yeah.
Like I'll have like rotating guests,
like,
and I kill one at the end of every season.
Someone will listen to the first couple, then not listen, and come back like 2 years later. Like, what was that other guy? Like, you know, the funny one. Like they'll say, like, what happened to him?
Or
like,
the observant will come back, hear this, and like, oh my god, it was all set up in the first episode. We thought it was a train wreck, but really it was establishing canon that was paid off.
Like, we're actually in the Welcome to Night Vale town right now, aren't we?
Yeah, you thought that was just a joke, but no, it was set up.
Yeah, it's all coming together. You'll see. The pieces are there.
It's all come together. So, okay, let's stop this.
All right, man.